So here, I'll jump into the California state phased reopening. This slide was from one of the governor's slides earlier this week. I believe he was using this, or last week, and California set out this 4-stage reopening roadmap. And stage 1 was for the essential workforce. That was what we were in. We're moving into the stage 2 now for the lower risk workplaces. And then 3 and 4 will be coming out. We don't have a certain timeline on this, but the governor was talking about this. This was the framework we were looking at in the past. And here too, in the past, these slides, I don't know if everybody can see that. This, the governor was saying on this wage replacement, so that workers can stay at home when sick. We saw some discussion about this, but we haven't seen anything come out on that. So I don't know if there's going to be anything coming out on that front, but keep your eyes up out for that. I don't know if there's going to be any kind of wage replacement requirement going forward, but it's something we're kind of watching on the state level. Now, yesterday we had this announcement from the governor about the moving into stage 2 as of today, May 8th, for these lower risk workplaces. And it's only allowing these retail, basically, establishments to offer curbside service. And then a guideline for the 3 and 4, but we don't have any time frame for that. Now, the stage 2, the lower risk workplaces, and I've taken this slide off of the state's website. We've gotten some guidance, and it's stage 2. I'm kind of thinking of it as a stage 2.1 and then stage 2.2. It's really got 2 parts to this reopening. The state said these retail establishments can open and offer the curbside service. So, bookstores, jewelry stores, florists for Mother's Day coming up here this weekend, they made it clear that they could open and do that. And then they said this phased in, it's first starting with this curbside pickup, and then it's going to go to in service where people can actually come into the establishment until further notice. But we don't know. They haven't explained when that's going to be. It's open right now. And then also important to note about the stage 2.1 that I have listed there, the supply chain supporting these businesses and manufacturing and logistical sectors can also reopen here on May 8th. And then later in stage 2, they've got, again, we don't know when these stage, the second part of stage 2 can reopen, but this involves destination retail, shopping malls, swap meets, personal services, and dine-in restaurants as well. So we don't know when this is going to open, but sometime here later in stage 2, we have to watch what the governor is going to announce. Hopefully it's going to be in the next week or 2. Now, the governor made it clear not in stage 1 or 2 are the high-risk workplaces. I've got those listed here. So still any kind of high personal touch types of industries or large venues are not part of the stage 1 or 2 at this point. And then also we haven't gotten any, second part of stage 2 is the dine-in restaurants, and we haven't gotten any guidance from the governor on that. More additional guidance yesterday, he said, will be coming out next Tuesday for restaurants. Previously, I've taken this slide from one of the governor's presentations. He said restaurants are likely to reopen with fewer tables. So I think restaurant operators should be thinking about that right now and planning for that. But we'll still see what that guidance is. Now, Los Angeles, this is an example for some of the different counties, how they're looking at this. LA County has a five-stage reopening process, basically, though, mirroring what the state is doing on the state level. And they published this just last night, these slides. And again, it's very similar to what we're seeing on the state level. But it's important to note, though, with the county, and I spoke about this at the beginning, you need to know what your county requirements are and the state requirements as well. And there could be some city requirements too, specific to your city. But for example, face coverings for the County of Los Angeles, they are required for customers or workers at businesses that are opening today on May 8th and other essential businesses. If you've been an essential business open already, you've had to deal with this with the social distancing protocol and provide face masks for your employees and have required the customers to wear them. So that's pretty standard for businesses, essential businesses. Now, with these non-essential businesses opening today, they're looking at these issues now too. Now, on the state level, the guidance we received yesterday was the lower risk workplaces. It's just strongly recommended cloth face covers for most industries. So again, we're getting some different issues. If you're in the County of LA, you're going to have to require that still here going forward. So we've got some differences. Now, California's the resilience roadmap plan to reopen, where I'm pulling a lot of this content from. I've got the link on this slide, and it sets forth that every business in California has to start planning and preparing for reopening, has to make says radical changes within the workplace, and again, we'll talk about what some of those they're thinking about, but they are for the most part leaving up to the companies to think about and put a plan together on their own, and to just practices by employees and help educate customers. And then it recommends that the companies review the guidance that's relevant for your workplace and prepare a plan based on the guidance for your industry. And then you can post this industry-specific checklist and at the door and have that ready to go and develop a checklist. So the California said before reopening, all facilities have to go through these 5 steps. They have to perform this detailed risk assessment and implement a site-specific protection plan. And then here, again, this bullet point, employers can post the industry-specific checklist in your workplace to show the customers and employees that you've reduced the risk and are open for business. There's links for those. I'll have it on the next slide that employers can look at these checklists, download those. But for the most part, though, it leaves open what this detailed risk assessment is going to look like and what this site-specific protection plan is. And every employer has to do that on their own. We don't have any form for that per se. So we've got some examples and actually some of the handouts. We're turning to some of the social distancing protocols that have been recommended for the essential services, the essential businesses, and using those as guidelines to help clients develop some of these site-specific protection plans going forward. And I think that's a good way to start, and it can form your process of doing it, as opposed to just starting with a blank sheet of paper and coming up with one on your own. So we're really turning to these essential businesses that have been open and using these social distancing protocols, looking at those social distancing protocols and developing that. And we've gotten some good resources too. I think the handouts that are available, uploaded right now that you can get through the software. San Diego's come out with some proposed plans. County of San Bernardino has come out with some proposed plans as well. So take a look at those and use that to educate yourself in preparing that plan. And then also there's training of the employees and implementing some control measures and screenings, how you're going to clean your workforce, your workplace, and then the social distancing guidelines, putting those in place as well. So here's all the different industries that the California state has guidance for. And so you can go to the website here that I have the link and click on your industry. And then what you can do is download guidance for the particular industry and then download a checklist for each industry. And I was just talking to Rick before the webinar here today. For the most part, from what we've been looking at last night and getting ready for the webinar, they're basically the same. The guidance mirrors what the checklists are for each industry, but generally the checklist for each industry covers contents of the written work site specific plan, what that should entail that I was just speaking about, topics for employee training, And then also individual control measures and screening, the cleaning and disinfecting protocols, and the physical distancing guidelines. So good resources to start, but again, you've got to do some work when you're opening, and we've been recommending to employers to start looking at this, even if you aren't not opening here on May 8th, start looking at these and putting these plans together. Every business in California is probably going to be required to have this plan in place when you reopen. So it's good to start right now. And again, use some of these forms from different counties that the essential businesses that have been operating have been looking at and putting those in place for the social distancing protocols.